presentation, I would actually like to invite Vary just to say a few words about her experience of Nuffield, just to set the scene, and then we'll carry on talking about Nuffield for 2022. So I'm going to hand over to Vary. Off you go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aileen, and thanks for having me here, and well done everybody for getting selected for the Nuffield Research Placements this year. I actually took part in Nuffield 6 years ago now, in 2016, and it's something that I know that a lot of people say this, but it genuinely did change my life. So I'm so excited for you all to be able to have this opportunity this summer. So I did my placement at the University of West of Scotland in the Paisley campus, and I was working on the impact that pesticides have on marine invertebrates, and that was a kind of area that I didn't know anything about when I went into it, and it wasn't actually what I wanted to do with my life either at the time. I wanted to be a vet, and so this wasn't quite the main thing that I was interested in, but I did have an interest in the environment, and it didn't matter that it wasn't the main thing that I was interested in, because there was so much that I got out of doing it. So I essentially spent the summer holidays in a giant fridge looking at how many times these invertebrates crossed a line in a tub. And that doesn't sound that exciting, but it wasn't that part of it that is the bit that kind of it was the process more important than the actual thing that I was doing, because the reality was I was then getting to spend all this time doing science, real science that like other people hadn't done before, and you don't usually get to do in school. So often in school it's about following an instruction manual, and your teacher maybe knows what the result's going to be and might even sometimes tell you what the result should be, and that's great, but it's not necessarily what then science is all about in the kind of wider sense. So I really enjoyed being able to take it beyond the textbook, beyond what we've done in the classroom, and being able to actually put some of that into practice, but also explore so many things that I had no idea even existed, never mind how to do them. And I think that that's something that, from speaking to other Nuffield alumni too, it's something that many of us share, and that probably you all experienced at some point as well, that kind of feeling of being totally potentially out your depth, not knowing what to do, but also having supportive people there that can help you figure it out. My supervisors were amazing. They didn't tell me the answers, but that was one of the amazing things about them looking back at it, because there's a lot of things that going in I didn't have a clue about. I can remember after the first day being like, should I even go back tomorrow, because I was so stressed out about not knowing anything. But that's part of the journey, and I think that that's what to look at this as a journey that you're going to go on. It's not always going to be easy, and it's not always going to be something that you know what you're doing or feel that you know what you're doing, but by the end of it, you'll then potentially know more about that topic than your supervisor even does, that specific niche part that you've been working on. And that's the kind of what I then saw when I went to the Nuffield celebration event at the end. Like, everybody that was there became like this expert in this thing that they've been doing, and nobody else necessarily knew anything about that topic, but they did. And I think that, you know, when it does come to working on your placement, just make the most out of it, because I was really sad when mine came to an end, despite wanting to leave after the first day. Like, initially I was like, should I come back? But I was really sad when it finished. But then over time I've kind of realised it didn't really finish, because that one opportunity has led to so many other things for me. I was able to take my project to different competitions across the UK, and since then it's then completely changed the route that I've took in my life. So I just, even though there's kind of a start date and an end date on it, that end date, for me, I still feel like I've not reached the end date, because I can still trace back what I'm doing today to being able to do that. So I now lead a social enterprise called Youth STEM 2030, and that's completely different to what I thought that I was going to be doing through my Nuffield placement, but it was my Nuffield placement that opened up so many other options to me, and so many different opportunities made me realise that actually I could be happy being something other than a vet, which I'd obsessed about for the 10 years before it, and realised that actually I wanted to go and make a difference through STEM, and that's now what I get to do because of it. So I guess that it's going to be a really challenging opportunity, but a very worthwhile one. You're going to meet so many people. Just take advantage of every opportunity and create your own opportunities along the way with it. There are so many things that like are there, but you just need to go and kind of find that way of taking the opportunity or creating the opportunity. I wish that I'd spoke more to different people when I was there. I think if I went and did it now, I would have been able to at that point. Be kind to yourself a wee bit. But I wish I'd spoken to more people, so just speak to people and learn from them and just soak it all in, because there are so many people to learn from on your placement, whether it's people who are your supervisors, whether it's other academics or staff there, whether it's people who may be doing currently undergraduate or postgraduate degrees, like all sorts of people. The technician will be your best friend also. So get to know the technician, because technicians are brilliant people and are very, very helpful people to be friends with. So get to know the technician and try not to get yourself locked in, which I accidentally once did. So yeah, there's lots of highs and lows, I think, to the whole experience. But just enjoy it and just get as much out of it as you can, because it is such a brilliant opportunity. And I love, some of you I might have met when it was like the kind of pre-application call, and I love doing this because I love speaking about Nuffield because it was so brilliant. So yeah, just have a great summer at it, and if anybody does have any questions, then I'm happy to answer them from an alumni perspective. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Vary. That's superb. And hopefully next year we'll have some students coming back talking about their experience, just like you've just done just now. So you're very passionate, obviously, and I'm sure our next 90 students who are all desperate to do their Nuffields will just be as passionate as you after their placement. So thanks for your time. That's great. You can disappear if you've got other things to do, or you're welcome to hang back. One thing that I thought might be useful, now you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but if you know where your placement is, it might be useful if you just want to put in the chat, just to say your name and to say where you're going. We have, for example, maybe 6 students are going to Glasgow University to the chemistry department. So it might be of use to you if you just want to put in the chat where you're going in your placement, and then you can see, and you're welcome to connect with any other students. You will obviously meet if you're all doing your placement at the same time when you do your placement, but it might give you a wee bit of comfort if you know somebody else is going. Some people are taking 1 student, some people are taking 2 students, so you might be doing your placement by yourself, but other ones are maybe taking 4 or 5. So I'll just give you a minute or 2 to do that. Laura and I have spent a lot of time trying to ensure that we have equity across the placements. We have really good projects for you to do. We do recognise that some of you are maybe not getting your first choice of placement. We had a lot of people wanting to do biomedical science, and there's only so many placements we can get in biomedical science. So, but no matter what you do, your placement will be absolutely first class. And I can guarantee the supervisors we have talked to are all excited to have you. They are so looking forward to you coming on site. They've arranged, maybe if you're going to a university, for a campus tour, that kind of thing, so that you get as much as you can out of your placement. So just after you've done that, what would be really useful, well, I'm going to share my screen first, actually. I better get my slides started up so we can see what we're talking about. Hopefully you can see that okay. I'm aware time's marching on already, so let me just take that away. Okay, very quick overview. You know by now you're doing a STEM research project. You're going to be working with a supervisor. The projects are all over Scotland, and we're looking at 2 to 3 weeks over the summer. Some of you will be starting in June, and that was really to tie in with supervisor holidays. And rather than not have a placement at all, we actually accepted the placements in June. So I know some of you will have to avoid school for a wee while, which is a bit of a shame, but the placement really will supersede the benefits you get out of that. What you're going to be doing during your Nuffield is really, you will be doing an initial phase where you'll be reviewing some literature. You will be looking at some papers. You will be getting up to speed with the project and what you're trying to do. There maybe be some background reading you have to do. You will then go to do your placement, and that will be entirely in the paragraph of text that Laura has sent you to discuss what your placement is. And then the supervisor will support you to communicate your findings via a final report and poster. So that, in a nutshell, is what you're looking to do over your summer placement. What I'm really keen to know, first of all, though, is how you feel about your placement at the moment. So if you don't mind, even if you're on your phone, if you can go to another window and just open menti.com up and put that code in, and then if you answer the first question, which is how do you feel about your Nuffield placement, there's 3 words or 3 statements that you have the opportunity to put in to just tell us a wee bit more about how you feel about it. So 3817943. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'll bring up the same code elsewhere, so don't worry about that. Just hold on a wee minute. It is there. Okay. So these are the words. Hopefully you can see that okay. Laura will tell me if we can't. How do you feel about your Nuffield placement? That's good. These are the words I was expecting to see, actually. Quite excited. Maybe not quite fully excited, but you're quite excited. Unprepared. That's interesting. Interested, intrigued, daunting. Okay, the biggest word coming out of the word cloud is excited, so that's good news. Nervous is probably a bigger one as well. Interested. Also a bit nervous, excited, 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 curious. Okay, these are the things that I would have expected you to say you feel about your Nuffield placement, so that's interesting. I'm glad there's nothing there that's not what I would expect. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next question, which if I can find my route. Oh, there's a few more still coming in. Okay, the next one is, what are you looking forward to the most? What do you think would be the 3 things that you're looking forward to the most? Is it being out of school? Is it meeting new people? There's the first one in working. What do you think you're really looking forward to? You might be nervous and you might be worried, but what do you think? Okay, meeting others. New environment, learning new skills. Experience. University environment. Okay, excellent. So the biggest thing is really you learning, you having the experience, and then meeting new people. And we will guarantee you will meet new people. We have said to the supervisors to make sure that you're not just working with one supervisor. You will get to meet other people in the company. You'll get to hear other people's jobs, other people's careers, because we want you to get the most out of this experience, that you can go away with a more informed choice about where you're going to go in your future career. And you obviously will be applying for college, university apprenticeships in 6th year. You want to be able to have a lot more information to make those decisions. So the last question I'm going to ask is, what worries you most about the placement? What's the thing that is maybe making you nervous, making you slightly worried? And I'm intrigued to see what you've got in this, see if there's anything we can help you with. Okay. Imposter syndrome, that's an interesting one. Maybe missing school, that's interesting. Yeah, I do sympathise for the ones in June who do have to miss school. It's unfortunate. Not doing well, that's interesting. You're maybe a wee bit unconfident about your own abilities and thinking, what if I don't do well during the project? Out my comfort zone, messing up bad, being alone. Okay, we'll try and avoid that you're not feeling alone. A new environment, work environment that I might not do good, not learning quickly enough, that I'll make mistakes, making a fool of myself. Okay, so hopefully from that, you'll all realise that you're probably all feeling the same things. You've all got the same worries. You're all sitting there panicking a bit, thinking, what if I don't know what I'm going to do in this project? What if I don't do it properly? And the supervisors know this, okay? This is the most important thing. They are not expecting PhD students to come and be an expert in their subject. I'll stop sharing my screen at the moment. Okay. So they are not expecting you to come with the knowledge of a university degree. They know that you've just sat your hires, but you might not necessarily have a hire in the subject that the project is. So whilst you be worried, the supervisors know that you're going to be worried. And we're doing a similar session tomorrow with the providers. Similar, we're doing from students today, we're doing it for the employers tomorrow. And we will let them know that you're feeling very anxious and very worried. And that is the supervisor's job, to put you at ease, to make sure that you feel comfortable when you're going in, and to treat you gently. You've had 2 years of COVID, everybody knows that. It's been a wee bit of a different experience at school, so they will guide you by the hand and they will help you with the project. And please do not feel bad at asking for help, okay? This is a total environment where you can put your hand up and say, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I don't feel very confident, and ask for help and help somebody be able to along the journey. Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to share my slides again. So hopefully you can still see that. And we'll go into the next slide. So at the moment, we're at the stage that 90% of you are at the pre-placement stage. And that means basically Laura has sent you the details of your project. You have accepted it and you've said, I'm happy to go to that project. And we have updated your status on the online system as pre-placement. So when you go away from this session today, it's useful just to log into your account on the system and just check that you are at pre-placement stage. Every 5 minutes, we're getting another provider accepting another student. So you're maybe not quite there yet, but Laura will be finishing that up by tomorrow to make sure everybody has got to the pre-placement stage. And then once we hit the date of your placement starting, you will then be in placement, and that will automatically happen on the status of the system that they know you're doing your placement during that time. Now, in order to get to this stage, you had to upload a parent or guardian form to say that you have an agreement for taking part in the project. I think almost everybody has uploaded that form, but if you can just, when you log into your account, check that that has been uploaded, and also check that your bursary declarations are correct. I'll talk about the bursary in a wee bit of time, but at the time when you applied, you knew the status of maybe your parent or guardian's income or receipt of free school meals, etc. If something has happened in your family that has changed since you applied, because you may have applied way back at Christmas time, then you can go in and edit those, or let Laura know that your situation has changed and you might now be eligible for a bursary, or you might not be eligible for a bursary. So that's something just to go back and check on your account after today. When you've been matched with a placement, Laura will have sent you a student agreement to sign. Okay, you might not have received that yet, but when you receive your student agreement, it's a 2-page agreement. Please have a read at it. There is stuff that's particular to your placement. So for example, it'll have the name of yourself, or Harry Potter in this sense, the student or the location you're going to, and then the start date of your placement. So it's really important that you check those facts and make sure you've got the right student agreement with your correct name on it, the correct placement on it, and the correct start date. Okay, so that's on the first page. And then we'd like you to sit and just read through that 2-page document to make sure you agree with all the things that are going to be asked of you. The second page, there's a bit for consenting for photographs being taken. So that's if maybe the employer would like to have a photograph of you doing your project, you tick that box. That covers all our photo consent. And then the most important thing is to sign the bit at the bottom to say, yes, I've completed my student agreement. And the provider will also complete a provider agreement, and they will say, these are all the things we are going to offer the student. So Laura's job is to match up those 2 things on the system and then make sure we are all in place, paperwork, and we're ready for you to start and to go and do the project. So the key things, check the dates are correct, check that the time is correct and you can attend. If you find there's maybe a day, say the 1st of July, you've got somebody's graduation in the family or something, and you think, actually, I can't go to my placement on that one particular day, then you let Laura know and we can let the provider know that for that day you're not going to be able to attend. All your communication with your placement supervisor must be through their work email address and their work phone number. And this is for safeguarding for your personal account. Make sure they're using something like strath.ac.uk. So ac.uk means it's an academic institution, and that means you know it is a work account. You should be able to see whether it's a Hotmail or a Gmail account, etc. Then you must be using their email from their work address. Don't use their personal email address. And on that form, I want you to make sure that you tick the GDPR and the photography to return to Laura. So that's to do with the student agreement form. The next stage is we want you to contact your supervisor. So under GDPR, we have not sent even your name to your supervisor We haven't sent your email address to your supervisor. So if you haven't done this already, now you're at the stage of you have to email them to introduce yourself. So it'd be really useful to tell them who you are, maybe what school you're at, where you're travelling from, maybe you've got an hour's travel to get to where they are, and maybe just a sentence to say what you're looking forward to doing in the placement. It doesn't have to be very technical, but you could just say, I'm really, really passionate about animals, or I'm really passionate about physics. I'm really looking forward to taking my placement. And in there, that's where you would just agree with them and say, right, I'm coming on the 11th of July for 2 weeks. I'll start at 9 and I'll finish at 4 or whatever. You agree with them when they want you to be on site, and when maybe to tie in with your transport, maybe you have to start a bit earlier so that you finish a bit earlier. It's up to you to work with the supervisor to agree your start and end times. Okay. Really important to be professional. I know I'm old enough, I don't use Instagram and Snapchat, but if you speak in emojis or you speak in text language, that obviously doesn't work in the work environment. So please make sure that you've checked your grammar and your spelling, and that when you email a professor or a supervisor, you are very professional in your communications with them. You could ask them, they will give you it anyway, but it's polite to ask and say, is there any preparatory reading you can do in preparation of the project, or is there any research on the company or the actual project itself? So I know some of you are going to Howden and Renfrew. It would be useful to Google Howden and just to see what their main line of business is and what kind of thing they do, so that you are prepared when you go on site, that you're not surprised it's a big, heavy engineering firm, for example. It's also useful at this stage to discuss tech and devices with your supervisor. Do you need to bring your own laptop? Now, some organisations will want you to use their device. They'll have standalone PCs, or there'll be networked PCs. They might say to you, no, due to our security, we want you to bring your own laptop. If you don't have a device, then please let us know, because we will organise that for you. We don't want you to be disadvantaged on a placement because you haven't actually got the tech to use the project, but we need to have enough time to organise the tech for you. So if at this stage you discuss with the supervisor, what do I need to bring for the project, and then come back to us if it's going to be a problem for you. Some of them might need specialised software. Again, they should be providing that, but just ask that question, is there any particular software I would need on my device? For some of the projects, you might be working on highly secretive things. You might be working on things that are not out on the market yet, and you're doing a wee bit of research. So they might ask you to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that you don't take photographs and you don't come out and share that information after you've done your placement. You don't necessarily need to ask them about an NDA at the moment, but if they suggest that, don't be surprised. There have been a few in the placement conversations we've had who've said, we have intellectual property on this. We don't want anybody to know what our student's working on, for example. And that's the kind of thing, when you write your report at the end, we'll agree with the supervisor as to what can be public knowledge and what can't be public knowledge. So just be aware that you might be working on top secret stuff, which is quite exciting. So this is the timeline of Nuffield. You'll have seen this if you'd come to our information session in January. It's a long process to get to your 2-week placement. So we've done the application session in January. The applications closed on the 30th of March, and thank you for all getting them in. Laura and I have spent that big gap of white in the middle processing all the applications and matching up with providers. And we're now at the next stage in the process, which is preparing you for your placement. So some of you already might have heard of these Be Future Ready modules, but this is the stage we're at for you to complete them. Once you've done the Be Future Ready modules, I'll come back to these in a minute, you then might have some optional workshops or something that the placement have given you prepare for, and then you would go out and do your placement, and then afterwards you do your report, etc., and we'll have the report uploaded to the system. So Be Future Ready modules. These are online modules. These are to prepare you for your placement. So hopefully we take a bit of that worry away from you, a bit of that feeling of inadequacy that you might have. And it's really to give you a strong skills foundation so that you're ready for Nuffield, but you're also ready maybe in education and employment. And these are the kind of things that you will be able to do, hopefully, at the end of the modules. So you'll be able to find where you can use sources to find relevant information. You can cite your references in a standard academic format. It's maybe a bit of a black art, so the module will help you do that. You can look at where your sources of information are coming from that you use in research to make sure you're using reliable sources. How do you collect data? How do you draw conclusions from data? How do you present your research? And basically, how do you plan? So it'd be useful to go through these modules, and then you are prepared maybe a wee bit more for your actual participation in the project. The modules take 8 hours to complete in total. So obviously for you, the sooner the better you start. We would like you to have them complete by the time you start your placement. So they take this amount of time: 2 hours for the reliability of sources, an hour for data collection, 2 hours for data manipulation, an hour on presenting your research, and 90 minutes on building your skills. And obviously being online modules, you can start and stop whenever you like. Laura will be sending you the login details for the Be Future Ready modules, so don't worry about that. You don't have to do anything. Laura will get you the login details and she will send you the link, and then you can just start the Be Future Ready. We will be able to see your progress, so we will be able to see when you finish, and you effectively should be finished before you start your placement, or we will be contacting you to say, can we get through these quite quickly? You might be going to a placement that has a bit of programming in it, and we know the placements that those are, and they've asked maybe to have some Python knowledge before you come. So there is an additional course on Python. It's quite a high intensity course, but it will prepare you if you have no programming experience whatsoever, or if you maybe know a wee bit about Python and you want some refresher. Okay, so not everybody needs to do the Python course. It's only if you're going to a placement that does involve Python programming. The details are here. There's 2 different courses. One starts on the 13th of June and one starts on the 7th of July. They're both the same. You only choose to do one of the courses, and it's basically an online session from 4 till 5:30 every day, and you can see the dates there. So it is quite intensive, but it will prepare you for going to do your placement if you're involving programming. So if we haven't contacted you to ask you if you want to do the Python course and you feel you would benefit from it, just email Laura and Laura will be able to get you on that course. The deadline for sign up for the first one is tomorrow, so we will be submitting the names to the organisation tomorrow to get access to that. Okay, so you're ready, you're all set up for your placement. There are 2 things you're obviously interested in, is the bursary and the travelling expenses. So when you applied, you maybe ticked a box to say you're one of these 4 things. In receipt of discretionary payments at school, you maybe have a low income in your family, or you're entitled to free school meals, or living or have lived in authority care. So if you've ticked any of those boxes, then you're eligible for a bursary of £200. And we will submit that for you on your behalf, and that will automatically appear. So you're paid 50% of the bursary, £100, after you've done your first week of the placement. And then the final payment will be made when you submit your report. So that's to be done by the 31st of August. So you get £100 during your placement and £100 at the end of the placement. Now, that will be done via online banking. So we do require a sort code and an account number for that. If you don't have that yourself, if you've maybe not set up in banking, then maybe your parents or guardian can have a bank account and we can transfer it to them. And then that money can obviously get to you. But if that is an issue, again, we're happy to discuss that. For travel expenses, every single student is eligible to have their travel reimbursed. Even if you're on a bursary payment, you can also get travel on top of that. The maximum value for travel is £150. And it only relates to the on-site portion of your placement. So if you're doing a hybrid placement, or most of it's online, for example, you can only claim for the time that you're actually travelling backwards and forwards to the placement. And the travel must really be taken by most economic means. So maybe the bus over the train. I think all of you will be eligible for free bus travel anyway, so that would be good. But for some of the more rural areas, you maybe don't have an option, that there's only one mode of transport that you can use. If you're driving, then we do reimburse you at a rate of £20 a mile, or if your parent or guardian's taking you there, we can reimburse them at £20 a mile. It's really important that if you spend any money on your travel, then you must keep the receipt. So it's useful to take a photograph or to scan the receipt if you've got a scanner, and maybe ask for the proper receipt. I know sometimes you just get the credit card machine to spit out a wee bit of paper, but if you could ask for a proper receipt with all the details, that would be really helpful. So Laura has asked you before today to look at what your travel is likely to be and to have a think about how you're going to get to your placement. People that were only matched this morning, that's a wee bit quick for you, I know, but we have a deadline of Friday to get all the travel estimated expenses on the system. Okay, so you have to do this yourself. We don't do it for you. You need to log into your NRP account, your Nuffield account, And you need to say, this is what I expect my travel to be. So if you know you're going to get the train every day for 2 weeks and it's going to be £7.60 on the train for return travel, multiply that by 10 days, you put what your value is for what you expect. We don't look for the receipts, obviously, because you haven't spent it at this time. But what they're doing is so that you can upload what your expected expenses are going to be. And then you tell Laura, you email Laura and give her your sort code and your bank account number. And we will ensure that you're paid 50% of your travel costs just as you're starting your placement. Because we understand for people, if your travel is going to be very expensive, it might be prohibitive for you actually to get to your placement. So that's after you go off the call today. I want you to log into your Nuffield account. I want to make sure everything's up to date, your bursary information's up to date, and I want you to add in under the travel section how much you estimate your travel to be. And if you miss the deadline of the 10th of June, we will eventually get travelling expenses to you, but you will not have them in time for the time of your placement. So you'll get 50% up front. During the placement, every time you get a receipt, every single day, can you upload that onto your system? Okay, so you log in, you take a photograph, you upload a photograph of it. If you're taking mileage, then do it on Google Maps and just take a print screen of the Google map showing how many miles it is, and that counts as a receipt for a mileage claim. Okay, and then Laura and I will have a massive job over the summer checking every single person's receipt, doing a massive expense claim. We will approve the amount, and then you'll get the remaining 50% when you upload your report after the system. Laura will give you these slides afterwards, so you will be able to go back and recap on that, but hopefully I've explained how the travelling expenses actually works. Okay, moving on to your actual placement. We had lots of comments about being nervous, etc. These are just a few tips and techniques for once you go on your placement. Number one, try and be on time, okay? We anticipate lots of train delays and bus delays, etc. But maybe factor in some travel that you've got 15 minutes leeway in case the bus is later, for example. If you're going to be late, if you're 5 or 10 minutes late, it doesn't matter. But say you're going to be an hour late or 2 hours late, please contact your supervisors to let them know why you're going to be late and what your expected time is. If for some reason you can't get in touch with them, you can contact myself or Laura, and then we will be able to communicate with the supervisor. If you're sick or you've got an issue with your family, for example, that you know you cannot take part in a certain day of the project, then please let Laura know when you say, right, I know by Friday I have a hospital appointment I can't miss, then let us know and we'll be able to let the supervisor know. Okay. When you're working on site, please be respectful to everybody that you're working with, whether it's fellow students, whether it's your supervisor or colleagues who are in the room but that aren't part of Nuffield, and just watch your language and your behaviour. And I'm sure that the calibre of the students we have in Nuffield, this isn't going to be an issue, but I just want you to act as if you are in the workplace. This is a precursor to you being a professional, so we want you to go there and act professionally. And what we love at the end of a Nuffield will be the supervisors coming back to us saying how fantastic the placements were. So just have that in your mind. Just be careful of how you conduct yourself. And I'm sure it wouldn't be an issue anyway, but just have that awareness. If there's any issues at all during your placement, then please let the supervisor know or let Laura know. If there's something that's making you very uncomfortable, if within day 3 or 4, you're finding it overwhelming, then please don't sit and worry about it. Please flag that up to us. We will be able to have a conversation. If you feel that the level of the project is far too detailed for you, then please let us know. It's better letting us know at the start or halfway through the placement rather than waiting to the end and you thinking, actually, I didn't really get much out of that. When you're on your placement, the supervisors will make sure you have a work-life balance, but try and make sure you do take a break during your working day. Again, you can check, say you're going to Heriot-Watt University, for example, you could check with them and say, is there going to be a facility where I can buy my lunch, or are you expecting me to bring a packed lunch with me? Just these wee things that you have a break during the day and you feel comfortable when you're going to get fed and watered, etc. You'll have done your project. While you're doing your project, obviously you'll be thinking about writing your project report. What we're looking for the project report is about 15 to 20 pages. And you can see down there it's Times New Roman size 12, so that's quite big, which is good. There's less words required with size 12 than there is with size 10. And these are the kind of things you would expect in terms of the structure of the report. And I'm sure you've done this at school with some other projects you've maybe been involved in, such as EDT, etc. But these are the headings that you would be expected to fill in as part of it. And again, if you haven't written a report like that before, the supervisors know that this is new to you, so don't be afraid to ask for guidance and support. You're maybe sitting with those headings and you think, well, I have no idea what goes under this subject. What do they mean by that particular title? So you can say to the supervisor, right, I've written the abstract, I've written an idea of where I'm going with this project. What do I do next? What kind of things are you looking for? And it's quite good maybe when you've written a few pages to just submit that to the supervisor and say, am I along the right lines here? Have I gone too detailed? Am I not detailed enough? And really just bat it backwards and forwards. And before you finally submit it and upload it to the system, we want you to pass it by the supervisor and just make sure they're happy with it. And they'll have one last final pass, and then you upload that, and that's obviously on the system before the 31st of August. As well as the report, you have to create a poster. And again, there's a blank template for that. And these are all the things that will be in the poster. But the supervisors will be geared up for this, and they will know to take you into this direction of how you actually create your poster. We have shown the placement supervisors examples of the past, and they're like, wow, those are amazing. These are fantastic projects and posters that the students have created. So this one here, that if you were on our call in December, you'll have heard the girl that actually did this project last year. She was at the exact same stage you were at just now, thinking, I'll never be able to do that. And yet look at the quality of what she produced at the end of her placement. And that's the blank canvas that you'll have, that these are the fields you're going to be filled in. But you can see they relate very closely to the report headings. So when you write the report, you can do the poster quite easily after you've completed the report. Once you've completed your report and uploaded it, there are two things you could look at also adding to your net worth, which would be great for your UCAS form, for example. Number one is a CREST award. So your Nuffield project will be suitable for a gold CREST award, and we can guide you through that process. You need your supervisor to sign the form at the end of the placement. There is normally a charge for a CREST award, but because you're on Nuffield, we will give you a voucher code, and that means you don't have to pay for your CREST, which is very good news. So please remember, we'll remind you, but go for a gold award with CREST. You will also be eligible, if you do a wee bit more work, for a Young STEM Leader Level 6 award. I know some of you are already doing Young STEM Leaders, but if you take your Nuffield experience and you go back to school in 6th year and you talk to a group in assembly about how fantastic it was to do Nuffield, you talk about the project, you're inspiring this year's S5s or the coming up S5s to want to do Nuffield next year, then that makes you eligible with your Nuffield experience for a Level 6 Young STEM Leader. Again, we'll send you information on how to do that once you've completed the project. So to summarise all that I've been talking about, what's required of you for a Nuffield is basically fulfil the agreed rules and regulations, which the supervisor has set out for you, fulfil the agreed time commitment, whether it's over 3 weeks or 2 weeks, etc. Upload your project report and poster by the 31st of August. We'll also send you a student feedback form, which you need to complete and upmail it to you. Upload your travel and receipts. But most importantly, we want you to enjoy, learn, and be inspired. That is what it's all about. And I'm so jealous of you getting to do these projects. We didn't have these things when I was your age, so you are going to have a truly wonderful experience. You already have Laura's email address. We have our general email address. Laura and I will be going on holiday at different times over the summer, but there'll always be somebody available in the office to look after you if you have any questions or any queries. And the nuffieldresearchplacements.org is where you go in and you log in with your account details and you can update your account. Okay, I'll stop sharing my slides now. I don't know, Laura has any questions in the chat? I don't think so. There's a few things. Yeah, okay. Has anybody got any questions or any comments or anything? Okay, I see Tegan there. I still haven't been emailed about where I'm supposed to be going for a placement. Yes, I was speaking to your teacher about that yesterday, Tegan. We have one lined up for you, but we're just waiting for the full details to be on the system before we can match you. It's almost getting there. It's taking quite a while for the project supervisors to come up with the idea of the project, and then we have to get them to load it on the system, and then we have to match them with a student. So For those of you who were invited on the call today, that means you will be getting a placement, but we just haven't managed to do the paperwork yet. Okay, so if you can just hang fire, that'll be great. Okay, there's a very good question from Belle. What clothing would you wear to your placement? That's really interesting because you would expect to wear professional work attire. We would expect you to go very smartly dressed, but you might actually find when you get there, if you're in a university environment, people will be wearing jeans and a t-shirt or be very casual. So when you contact your supervisor, I recommend you in that email say, what am I expected to wear when I come to my placement? Because while it's lovely to look smart and very fancily dressed, you might feel overdressed if you get there and everybody is very casual. Okay, so the supervisor will certainly help you with what you're expected to wear. Any questions? How long do I have to accept the placement if I just got matched today? What we say to that, Laura? It's Friday, isn't it? It's the deadline.
Yeah, ideally, if you can get back to me by Friday, that is the deadline for getting the bursaries approved, and that's obviously going to be really, really useful for enabling you to do the placement. So as soon as possible, definitely be Friday, please. And then I see have all the agreement forms on the Nuffield website been approved. Yep, if you've sent me your agreement form, that's all you need to do on that one. That's absolutely fine. Perfect. Did someone have their hand up there?
Did, but it went down again. I don't know if...
Okay, that's fine.
Have we got all the questions?
Oh, yeah, we've got a question, a hand up there from Innes. You're welcome to take your mic off and ask Innes, or you can pop in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I haven't received an agreement form yet. Would it be possible to get that at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the placements, I was just waiting on final confirmation of dates from supervisors. So if the dates of your placement have been a little bit flexible, it might be the case that I've not got an agreement form out to you yet. But I will likely do another batch of them tomorrow, and I'll get them out to you as soon as possible. As just as we confirmed all the details.
Right, yeah, thank you.
We've got Diana there. Do you need to upload the agreement form on the website, or can you just email it? I've just been getting people to email them back to me, but I think, Aileen, there is a part on in your account where you can upload your agreement form. Yeah, so if you let me know that you've completed it and send me a copy of it, if you can upload it to your account as well, that'd be fantastic, because that's the final place that it needs to be able to get to.
There's a question before, Diana, from Mia as well there, Mia Kennedy, or Maya. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name there.
Oh yeah, do we just email when we agree and get the form? Yeah, so if you email me back and accept your placement, Mia, I will email you a form and you can get that back to me. If our placement is with other students, will we be able to meet the other students beforehand, or will we meet on the first day at the university? That's a really good question, Maria. If you've been placed at a university, most universities have taken more than one student, so you will be in a little cohort with other students. They will likely not be people from your school or people that you've met before, but what you can do is, if you email your supervisor, you can ask to have a call where they can kind of get you all together beforehand, just so that you can all meet. I think that would be a really good idea. The NRP website says that the travel expenses section cannot be accessed until placements have been started.
That's interesting. Right, okay, because I cannot physically add things myself. It has to be the student that asked that. So that's a very good question. Right, okay.
Yes, thank you for looking at that, Eva. What we'll do is we will get in touch with the IT people and see what the issue with that tomorrow. If there is an issue with the system, what I'll do is I'll get you to send me the numbers that you think your travel expenses will cost just by email, but I'll let you know about that. Xing, do I just email the placement supervisor about placement timings? Yep, if you've got any questions at all about any of the details to do with your placement, please do just get in touch with your supervisor. They will have all the details, and if you're having any issues in getting in touch with your supervisor, let me know and I can give them a nudge to get back to you. Do I have to email my chosen time with my supervisor? Do you mean about getting a time for running the placement set? If so, yeah, please do just arrange that with your supervisor. A lot of them have already been set already and they'll just tell you when it is. For me, it says the agreement needs approved before accessing the travel expenses. Okay,
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, we'll need to find out about that.
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
look
there's
at.
maybe two parts. I think there's a part that you upload what you expected expenses will be, and then there's another part which is the actual expenses, uploading the receipts. But because I can't log in as a student, I'm not sure. So we'll find out about that, and then Laura will update everybody on that, okay?
Yeah. Cherish, do you have you've got your hand up, have you got a question?
Yes. I was going to ask, so the Python class, the deadline is tomorrow. Is it too late to ask to like be part of it?
No, we
No,
can
not
put
at
you
all.
forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone that wants to be part of Python, send me an email and I will get your details across to the people that are running the course. So no, absolutely not too late. Please do let us know. The Be Future Ready, do we complete it by ourselves before the actual placement with the supervisor? Yes, so the Be Future Ready modules are completely independent. Your supervisor won't go through those with you. So once you've got your login, please just log into the system and make your way through those by yourself. And then that will hopefully give you some skills. You'll be all set before you start working with your supervisor. So the NRP website is just where you have your account, where you put your application in. So you can use the same login details that you used to do your application, just in the link that Aileen has posted just now. So it's just your email address and the password you chose when you submitted your application. You can log in there and you should be able to edit your account to add more details. Excellent. Do we have any other questions at the moment? That looks,
I realise I didn't mention the celebration event in September. We don't have a date for that yet, but what will happen is once we have all the projects uploaded, etc., and over the summer, we will choose a date in September, probably towards the end of September, that you can come along and showcase your posters. And you can invite your family, you can invite your placement supervisors, and it will be an opportunity for you to talk to people about what you did during your project. It's not a competition, it's purely an opportunity for you to demonstrate and display all the fantastic work that you have done.
Yeah, definitely very much looking forward to seeing all the things that you're going to be getting up to, because your projects all sound so exciting. Belle, would we send our travel expenses to Laura, our supervisor? So expense things will be through ourselves, the CERC team. Your supervisor is just to provide you with the kind of academic side of things in the project. So anything to do with kind of logistics or expenses, that will be us.
Yeah. And I have to say, we've met all the supervisors and they're lovely. They are so nice. They are absolutely so enthusiastic, and there's quite a few have already had Nuffield students, so they've done it before, so they're very old hands at this. And there's others who just want to give young people the opportunity, and they understand what you guys have come through, so they want to give you the experience that you haven't been able to get up till now, and give you that opportunity to learn more about the work environment.
Yeah, definitely. They're super lovely. I think that the sort of person that kind of wants to give up 2 weeks of their time to supervise students, you know, it's a self-selecting bunch. They're all super lovely. We've met them all on calls, and they're really excited to have you and be able to give you some kind of practical experience that you've not been able to get over the past couple of years. So where on the NRP website do we find the Be Future Ready modules? So that's a good question. When I send you login details for the Be Future Ready modules, I will send you a link for where you can log into those as well.
Yeah, they're held totally separate because it's an external company that's provided them. So it's nothing to do with the NRP website. Laura will send you the link to where they are. Yeah. And if for some reason you haven't got your login by, I would say, by the end of the next week, then certainly get in touch with us and we'll chase that up. They're doing them in batches at the moment because obviously there's actually 1,000 Nuffield placements across the whole of the UK. So there's a lot of admin behind the scenes that takes a bit of time. Okay, any other questions? Anything else? Right,
That's
well,
thanks for the moment. Yeah. So no, thank you all so much for coming. What I will do is I will get an email out to everyone that's been on this call. It will have the slides from today, so you'll have all that information. Tomorrow I will upload the recording of the meeting onto YouTube, and I'll send you a link to our YouTube channel if you want to review anything that we have said today. And we will look into how you upload the travel expenses, but please do have a think about that and how much you think that is going to be, because that's kind of the thing that's got the most pressing deadline at the moment.
And I did mention at the presentation, but if you're in receipt of a bursary, can you send your bank account details to Laura? So your account name, code and sort code, and then that means we can pay the bursary straight into the bank account. We will need that for the travel expenses as well, but we'll do the bursaries first and then we'll do the travel expenses after that.
The deadline for travel expenses is Friday. So that if you
That's
get it
the
in
estimate,
Friday,
yeah.
Please get us an estimate by Friday, and that means that we'll be able to pay you the 50% before you get started. So hopefully that will mean that you can get to your placement on time.
Okay, any other questions? No? Right, we'll let you go, but thank you so much for your time and we wish you well in your placement. And if there's anything at all, just email us on the address, or we're even happy to have a Teams call with you if there's something you're particularly worried about. All right, nice to see you and I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming, and as Aileen says, don't hesitate to get in touch. It'd be great to hear from you. Have a nice night, folks.